Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Well, if you guys are new here, my name is Christian and I have a 2009 Nissan 370Z along with a 2018 Infiniti Q50. So if you're interested in watching these platforms and watching them grow, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It does really help me out a lot. But today in this video, we're going to be talking about this 2009 Nissan 370Z right here. We're going to be talking about performance mods in order to increase the performance of this car, if that's what you're looking into doing. So we're going to be talking about a few basic things that most car guys do to their cars. So some of these may apply to a lot of other cars and some of it might not. And then we're going to go down to things that are a little bit more expensive, but it's actually some of the things that are actually going to increase the horsepower when it comes to this platform. So let's do a quick walk around of the car, show you guys how it looks like, and then I'll show you what you can do to this car and what's really going to be the best bang for your buck. Alright guys, so here's my 2009 Nissan 370Z. As you guys can see, it is pretty well modified. This side is actually under construction, so don't mind it right now. I know it doesn't look good. It is all cut up and everything from the wide body, but the results is going to be sick once I finish it up. It's currently drying right now. I have some free time, so I thought I'd go ahead and make this video for you guys. But here it is. Here's how it's supposed to look like, just so you guys can see. Let's go ahead and move on to the first thing that you should consider modding on this car if you plan on going with performance. And of course, like any other car, it's going to have to do with the exhaust. If you guys are interested in upping the performance, you need to go ahead and open up the pipes for the 370Z. They are super small. I'll double check the diameter and leave it somewhere around here. That way you guys can see the results between the stock one and an aftermarket one. I know it's really small. I believe it's like close to somewhere around an inch. And you want to go ahead and upgrade it to at least a 2.5 or bigger, even 3-inch if you plan on going turbo. So there's a few things that you can actually do. There's a lot of exhaust available for this platform. Like right now, for example, I am running AAM high flow cats along with an HKS full catback exhaust. It's really quiet and has a really deep tone to it, so it sounds really nice. But if you're looking for something that's really loud, then you want to go with something a little bit different. I have seen a lot of reviews that single exit exhausts usually do give you more performance, increasing the horsepower. It's not by a lot, but it does give you a little bit more of that upper horsepower range. So if you guys are looking to do exhaust, make sure you do your research on how much each one increases horsepower and kind of do a little bit of a comparison between each exhaust. There's different sections. You have your headers. There are many headers available for you to pick from, and they're usually starting off pretty expensive. I know there's ISR available along with Tomy. Those are ranging about $1,000, some even less. I think I've seen some for $600. Then you have your test pipes, and or you can go with long tube headers which will replace your header along with the test pipe at the same time, and then going just to a full catback. But if you plan on doing test pipes, you do have many options available as well, anywhere ranging from like 200 up to 600, being Motordyne one of the most expensive ones that I've seen, but the ones that sound really the best when it comes to this platform. And then you have your wide pipe, your mid pipe, along with your muffler that goes all the way to the back, which is going to be the axle back. So it really depending on what you're trying to do. You can mix up your exhaust, you can change up the sound, look up videos to see what you like. I'll show you guys a sound clip of mine if you guys are interested in seeing how this one sounds. Like I said, it's very quiet. There's like no drone when you're driving. Once you step on it, it has a little bit of a growl and it's really deep. So it just depends on what you're looking for, what you can get when it comes to this platform. But exhaust is of course going to be the #1 thing that you want to change. Now going over to the second performance is going to be the oil cooler. The oil cooler is going to help out a lot, especially on the newer models. So if you can see there, I have a Mishimoto oil cooler. It does help out a lot, keep the temps down, because of course if you plan on upping the performance of the car is going to run a lot hotter, so you need to make sure that you keep those oil temps down. So I've actually had this oil cooler for about 2 years already. I have not had a single issue with it at all. There are many options available that you can choose from. I believe there's one that's called C-Trap. Then there's Stillen. You have Mishimoto and a few other off brands that work perfectly fine as well, just depending on how it's routed and how everything is sealed up. I know the newer models, I believe it is a 2013 and up models, do have an oil cooler already, but it's actually pretty small. So even then you still want to update to a newer oil cooler or a bigger oil cooler. I believe mine is a 34 row. There is different things that you can do as well, upgrading the thermostat along with the radiator. There's options available for that as well. You guys can pick from that. Make sure keep your oil temps down. If you guys are like me, you guys are very paranoid when it comes to the car. When it gets really hot, you don't really want to push the car too much, so adding an oil cooler is really keep that peace in mind. I know when I didn't have an oil cooler, I would reach like over 240 temps. Now with this oil cooler, I stay in the winter time like about 180, and then in the summertime I'm reaching about 200 if not 210. So it does help out drastically. It even looks good as well. Like if you get the Mishimoto one, you can see the M right there. I think it looks pretty sick too. Just having that oil cooler just sticking out right there just gives it a little bit more detail and it looks cool. Now this mod is very debatable. It really depends on if you're interested in actually upgrading the intakes or not, and if you plan on staying naturally aspirated. If you plan on getting a turbo setup, I do not recommend getting intakes, because most of the time you will be replacing them when you go ahead and upgrade your turbo setup, or when you go with the turbo setup. So by looking at this right here, you can see that I have still Gen 2 intakes. So they're right in this area. A lot of people call them hot intakes. The car actually came with this when I bought it. This was like the only model this car had when I purchased the car. Usually if you want to get cold air intakes, they will be rerouted into the front area leading up here. And if you really want to get the most performance out of intakes, I would highly suggest going with 3-inch intakes. There's not many options available when it comes to 3-inch intakes. You can get some custom ones made for your car, and or you can get some that are already made for the car. For example, administration tuning actually has some intakes available for you guys to purchase. But if you do plan on going with 3-inch intakes, you do want to go ahead and get a tune right after. I've heard a lot of people have issues with 3-inch intakes. After adding them, the car does not perform as well. Mass increase when it comes to the intakes. So if you go with 2.5, you shouldn't need a tune right after. You can wait a little bit if you want a few more mods, but of course that's going to be really up to you. You have a few options. You also have the still in Gen 3 intakes, which route to the front as well. You have administration tuning, which has 3-inch intakes. So when it comes to the fourth mod, it's really dependent on if you want to go with the naturally aspirated setup. If you plan on going naturally aspirated, want to push the car, then I would go ahead and add upper and lower intake manifolds. Now what those are is they're going to go ahead and port the manifolds in order to make the holes bigger to allow more air into the system. And or you can go with a different setup. The only one that I've actually seen that's available is going to be AAM, and it's actually pretty expensive. I think it's over $1,000, and most people only purchase that setup if they plan on going with like a turbo setup. So it's pretty much made of steel, and it's going to be able to withstand the amount of pressure and the amount of boost from a booster setup. So if you really want to go with that setup, I would highly suggest going boost. If not, then you can go ahead and go with just ported manifolds. There is Motordyne available, and or you can get custom setups from somebody that actually does it for you, where they port the manifolds for you, and it's actually not that expensive. I've seen some charge about $400 to $500 just to be able to do that for you. So just depending on your budget if you really want to go with the naturally aspirated setup. Now for the fifth mod, if you want to push the car even more, go ahead and upgrade your injectors and your fueling system. When it comes to injectors, the most common injectors I see used for this platform is going to be GTR injectors. They're pretty much plug and play. Grab GTR injectors, put it in here, and then you can go ahead and upgrade the fuel pump to a higher fuel pump. There's only a few available that I've seen in the most common ones. I believe there's Walbro, and I believe there's a 350 and a 280. So depending on how much power you plan on pushing, if you plan on going turbo in the future, because I believe the stock one itself is a 220. So really dependent on even if you want to go E85. At that point, if you plan on upgrading the injectors and the fueling system when it comes to the fuel pump, then you can go ahead and run E85 on the car as well, which will give you a little bit more horsepower. After you add all of these mods onto your car, you either want to go with a tune. A tune is going to be very beneficial. It does help the car a lot, perform a lot better. When the car is running at its normal state, it's pretty much running at a stock ECU. So you want to go ahead and upgrade it so it can pretty much adjust itself to what you're doing to the car. If you just do all these mods and you don't tune it, it's not really going to do anything for the car. So you need to make sure you get a tune. And it does actually drastically help out a lot. Even with just my intakes, the full exhaust that I have on the car, it did make a huge difference, making the car perform a lot better at its current state. Now with that being said, you're not really going to gain much from doing all this mods. Usually if you run a naturally aspirated setup, a lot of cars you won't see go over 350 horsepower or wheel horsepower. Those that run just intakes and full exhaust usually are running about 320 horsepower. And if you really want to push it, add everything else when it comes to the intake, upper, lower manifold, adding the E85 along with the fuel pump and the ejectors, usually I've seen about 350. So spending over 3K more just to be able to have those mods, it's not really too much horsepower. You're probably gaining about 20 just by adding those mods, so it's not a lot, and that's not even a lot, to be honest with you. A lot of these newer cars are actually pushing that from factory, so if you really want to up the performance, I would highly suggest going with the turbo setup. So with that being said, that's going to lead me to the last mod, and actually the one that I plan on going with in the future. And if you do actually want to push some power with this car, you are going to have to go with the turbo setup. There are many options available. You have twin turbo setups, you have single turbo, mid mount, rear mounts, you have superchargers as well from Stillen, and even custom setups. A lot of the mid mounts and the rear mounts are actually custom setups, and turbo mounts at the top that you can get done by a local person that's around you that can do it for you with the welding and everything, just buying the turbo, the fuel lines and everything in order to be able to run the setup correctly. If you want me to be completely honest with you, the turbo setup is going to be the best bang for your buck. It is expensive. Depending on the setup that you go with, you're looking to spend $7,000 plus, even some ranging 10K for twin turbo setups, things like that. When it comes to this platform, I actually have not done a lot of performance mods when it comes to this car, just because of that specific reason that you're not going to be gaining a lot of horsepower. I could be running this setup right now, and a freaking Camry can come up to me and beat me, right? So it's just really up to you, your goals for this car, what you want for it. So if you really want to go with performance on this car, like I said, I would highly suggest a turbo setup. Like I said, a lot of cars from factory already make the amount of horsepower that you're going to be getting from a tune. So it's really just better just to go with the turbo setup, where you could be running anywhere from 500 plus, depending on the setup, how much boost you're running, and all that good stuff. So I really hope this helps you guys out when it comes to the performance mods of the cars, things that you can do. Like I said, I'll list websites down below where you can purchase these items from if you guys are interested, and it's really going to help you out. There is so many mods out there that you can actually pick from when it comes to the performance of the car that I didn't really talk about. Even when it comes to like the handling of the car, that's really going to help you out a lot. You want to make sure that the car is planted if you plan on running a lot of horsepower, making sure you're upgrading your coilovers, your sway bars, things like that, in order for it to be able to handle that type of horsepower along with the tires. So there's a lot of things that it comes into when it comes to performance that I didn't really speak of. These are the main things that you actually want to upgrade when it comes to the performance of the actual car, is because I actually plan on going with the turbo setup myself. I'm kind of in the fence of doing a custom setup for my car. A lot of these other options are pretty expensive. You're looking to spend 7K plus, and if you go with a custom setup where somebody actually builds it for you, you're probably looking about 5K, if not a little bit less, possibly even 4. So it is going to save a lot of money doing a custom setup. That will be completely dependent on you, and if you want to actually do that. Hopefully this helps you guys out. I get a few questions on this a lot, and especially on the Q50. I will be doing a video on that. I was actually supposed to take that car out today, but I actually had some issues with the car when I was going to bring it, so I'll be making a video on that as well. Very unexpected. This platform has been around since 2009, so there's a lot of options for you guys to choose from. All things that are really going to make your car stand out from others and or make it perform a little bit better. So yeah, that's going to conclude the video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and stay posted on things that are happening to this car. Also stay updated on the wide body kit that I'm doing right here. I am changing it up. It's going to look really sick, so hopefully you guys stay tuned and you guys keep watching this channel. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.